Hi, I'm Graham Glynn, Assistant Provost and Executive Director for Teaching, Learning plus Technology at Stony Brook University. And this is Innovations in Education. In our show, we feature faculty and staff using innovative approaches to teaching and applications of educational technology that have had a positive effect on student learning. In our show today, I'm joined by Charles Haddad, an Associate Professor in the School of Journalism. We will be discussing how writing can be used to promote critical thinking. Charles, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you teach and the venue in which you teach it?
Yes, I am a writing professor in the journalism school, the new journalism school. I teach both ends of the spectrum. The beginners who are just entering our school, I'm kind of one of the gatekeepers, and I teach the seniors that are working on major pieces of writing, how to write magazine writing. So I have the two ends of the spectrum.
Okay. And what size classes are they generally?
My classes are no bigger than 18 students.
Okay.
I teach in a workshop setting, and I use the Socratic Method. I try to push as much work as I can onto the students, make them do all the hard work.
Okay. So we've mentioned critical thinking. Can you define what you think the core skills of critical thinking are?
Yeah, this is a good question. First of all, it's the ability to think well, think independently. Okay. The ability to sift through material and marshal evidence to make an argument or a case for something. The ability to sort of work material to come up with a new understanding. What I would say that sort of the gold standard is to do something I call commit quiet mischief. That is, push the envelope of understanding with the knowledge you have acquired.
Okay. And do you think that we can teach critical thinking? I mean, is that a trait that may already be inherent in a student and that you can just maybe refine a little bit, or can you truly change it?
That's a great question, because that's one of the big debates in academia. Can you teach critical thinking? My personal experience is that you can. That when students are given the skills and practice those skills, they develop what I would call an attitude and a habit of critical thinking. That is, they learn to be skeptical. They don't accept things at face value. They go and verify and find out for themselves, and then ask themselves, now what can I do with this information? What's something new? A lot of it is an attitude. A lot of it is opening their eyes to a way of seeing the world, that I can do this.
Okay. And why do you think writing is a particularly good way to teach those skills?
Because writing is thinking in its purest form. So if your writing is modeled, then your thinking is modeled.
Okay. And so how do you guide them through that process of improving their writing and improving their critical thinking skills at the same time?
To me, it's really all about thinking. It sort of, when I see their writing, and if their writing is clear and compelling, that tells me, one, they've grasped the material, and they are using their minds effectively to work through it. So we use a series of exercises, an ever-escalating series of challenges that force them, that put them in a position that they have to use their mind and have to think things through.
And are those a series of what you would call critically more difficult thinking exercises?
Yes, yes. It's a series of assignments. You know, in my beginning class, we start very basically. The beauty of many people don't realize this, but even in the simplest news story about a fire, that the intellectual rigor involved in making that series of facts clear, to understand the natural flow of that order, of those facts in a way that a stranger can comprehend what happened, is very intellectually rigorous. And so, for me, journalism is just a platform through which to teach critical thinking, which to me is one of the key skills that anybody should acquire in coming to university, no matter what your discipline.
So would you say critical thinking is synonymous with teaching people how to question well?
Yes, that's at the front. That is one of the fundamental skills, and that's something that we push very hard in the journalism school, is how, I call it the craft of questioning. It is a craft, and at its highest form is an art form. And to question well, you must be a critical thinker. You must have the skills of a critical thinker. Okay,
so let's say you have a freshman student who is not very good at this process.
Which would describe about, as we all know as professors, about 95% of them.
Okay, so you encounter a piece of unclear, muddy, conceptually confusing writing. How do you lead them through this process?
Well, it starts with the whole tenor of the class. I want my classes to have a sense of danger. The students, the moment they walk in, that they know they got to be on their game, so that they're alert, they're paying attention. So they know when they come into my class, they will be called on, that there's a very good chance, not only by me, but by their peers. So in our classes, we take their work and we put it up for everybody to see with your name on it.
Right.
Because what counts, I've learned, is not what I think, but what their peers think. So when they develop their own standard of excellence. So there's no way I want my piece of work in front of my peers where they can obviously see this is sloppy, I didn't do the work, I haven't thought it through. So this is where pushing the work back onto the students come in. I put their work up and through a series of guided questions make them critique it.
So that they're learning the guided questions each time?
Say that again?
Is it the same set of guided questions?
Depends on the situation. The same, I'm going for the same principles, but every situation can be different, so that teach skepticism, not to accept things at face value, even if it is accepted conventional wisdom, to teach them to question and verify. If that's the universal goal, the question I ask may be different each time to get them to have that epiphany. So I use their work as sort of the foil, if you will, to teach this lesson. So I'm trying to move them to the place where they start to ask the questions themselves, that they've developed their own critical ear. And it takes at least, to even get on the right path a semester. This is difficult stuff. Here's the thing. Most young people love a challenge. They may complain, they may whine, but at heart they cannot resist. A great challenge put in the right way, and they almost cannot resist reaching for that bar.